Tom Campbell and the man that on the Isle of Wight is called Santa Pachisi.
Hello, little boy. Not going to say that. That's a soundbite waiting to happen. No.
You're doing something really cool on Christmas Day, aren't you?
I am doing something really cool on Christmas Day. I'm having a big cry because I can't see my mum and dad. No, I'm doing a big Christmas Day Cultaholic Twitch stream. Ho ho ho! 3 p.m. GMT. I'm going to be, just because a lot of people's Christmas plans have been really messed up this year, mine included. So we're going to have a bit of fun, watch some old British Christmas TV specials, and my dad is making an appearance, and he's a bit of a Brian Pillman. He is unhinged, a loose cannon, if you will.
As you prepare for that sequence with Adam Pachiti's dad holding up inside the house with a gun, waiting for Steve Austin, let's take a look at the wrestling news. Vince McMahon reportedly threw a fit backstage recently. We have an update on a potential Rock versus Roman match at WrestleMania, and there are plans for Kenny Omega to headline Impact Wrestling pay-per-views. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Vince McMahon always strikes me as a cool, calm and collected fellow at the best of times. Somebody who is open to new ideas. Somebody who certainly doesn't call a burrito a meat wrap. And somebody who is very, very much on the pulse when it comes to popular culture.
Oh, what's he like?
Oh, this is going to get demonetised for lies. Vinnie Mac in the news today. What's he been doing, Adam?
Yeah, this is from The Observer, and Dave writes, Vince McMahon threw a fit about the working ability of certain guys on the main roster, mad in particular about some of their big guys. He's ordered some of the main guys to go back to the Performance Center with 2 classes per week with Adam Pearce and Drew Gulak as instructors. That's pretty cool for Gulak, isn't it?
I mean, great nod for Gulak, for Vince to go teach these people how to get their cardio up.
But also, we're going to book you every week in the 24/7, and you want to dress as a turkey as well. Don't actually do any wrestling. You're just going to get rolled up. Okay, yeah, all right, yeah. Leave it for the big guy. What the hell's that about? So, right, let's. This is complete speculation on who this could be. The one that sprang to my mind is maybe Dabba-Kato, Babatunde. That's who I'm thinking. Any ideas?
There certainly seems to be a vibe that it could be somebody like a Dabba-Kato, because the few reports that we've said are that he's not appeared on Monday Night Raw yet because he's not quite ready. He needs a little bit sorted out before he gets there, and it could even be a connection to that. I mean, I know that there was something similar that went down like this at NXT UK most recently, where they had their first tapings back at the BT Sports Studios. And the reports stated that people there were unhappy, who were running the show, were unhappy with the conditioning of a lot of the NXT UK guys. So they were called back to do 4 weeks of training, like to get their cardio back up after so much downtime during a weird old year. So it kind of falls in line with that. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that would probably struggle with conditioning. I think, when you talk about the big guys, you're looking at Braun Strowman or your Keith Lees, but I mean, they all big guys. They're pretty nimble. Keith Lee has proved in NXT what he is capable of as a big lad.
Yeah, an incredible career on the Indies. Like, you don't have to worry about him. And Braun Strowman's got an incredible shape over the last year or so. He's looking more trim and better than ever. So I don't know who those could be. It's they mentioned big guys. Let us know in the comments. Who do you think it is? There's probably a name that we're forgetting here. But yeah, the big story there is Vince McMahon on the floor, going like that, banging the floor and crying his pathetic little eyes out. Please don't demonetize us. That didn't happen, probably.
Who is Roman facing at Wrestling Mania? We've gone back and forth on this one. Even today, we were talking about how there's certain people they like, certain people that they're not so keen on. We have a further update, don't we, Adam?
Right, sort of adding a little bit more confusion into the mix, if I'm honest. There's some clarification, but there's some updates as well. So, once again, Meltzer, Wrestling Observer newsletter. The 2 most likely names are McIntyre and Bryan right now. Bryan was originally talked about for TLC, but with so few guys possible because of how few top baby faces SmackDown has, you've only got Bryan, Big E, Owens, and you could always turn back Uso, but Owens is being done now, Uso is done, and Big E at this point not under consideration. Goldberg, as a name, makes sense because it was the match that we were meant to get at WrestleMania this year, and of course we didn't get that. And he continues saying, as of last week, he wasn't high on the list of candidates, but given he was on the bump and directly issued the challenge, and Vince McMahon doesn't like people hyping up a match that won't be delivered, one has to think he's higher on the list than even those in creative were. So David is insinuating there the most likely opponent for Roman Reigns at WrestleMania is going to be Goldberg, which matches up with the WrestleVotes report from this morning also. I out of that lot, I'd love Big E, but it looks like that's off the table. I'd say Bryan.
Bryan would be great. But I feel like Bryan is in this role as sort of like a roadblock for Roman Reigns on the way to WrestleMania. He's somebody that could pose a very serious threat on the route to them. I think Mick Foley played that role really well in the early noughties, when if somebody was heading to WrestleMania, they'd probably go through Mankind or Cactus Jack as it was in 2000. And so I think Daniel Bryan plays that role really well. I still love the idea of him beating Roman for the big one. But for me, my heart still belongs to a Roman Rock showdown. What has The Rock had to say about facing Roman Reigns?
So we got an update on The Rock also, and essentially The Rock is open to facing Roman Reigns, but at WrestleMania 38. Dave once again writing. What we know is that right now, this was reported by Ringside News also, Dwayne Johnson isn't scheduled. According to those very close to the situation, Johnson has brought up the possibility of doing a match with Reigns in 2022, but that's a long way away. And Tom, guess how old Rocky's going to be by that time? Go on,
he's immortal, so he'll be infinity times 5 at that
That's right,
point.
the immortal Rocky Maivia. I'm sure that's what they called him. It'll be 49.
What?
49, yeah. Obviously, all up to him. But he wants this year. He wants it the following year, essentially. So, which is what we were speculating on this morning and saying that was the most likely outcome of this. But 49, he'll still be able to do it.
Oh
Goldberg's
my God, are you
52,
kidding
right?
me? At 49, Rock's going to be fitter than most 29-year-olds still. He's barely. He's like this isn't even his final form.
No.
But that's what Roman Reigns is doing. But my question is, what is Raymond Reigns doing at WrestleMania?
Raymond Reigns is going up against. I almost said something naughty then that would have got. He's going up against the Brock.
Look,
let's
let's cut through this. It's going to be Manu, isn't it? It's going to be Manu.
Fingers crossed.
It's the return of Manu versus Raymond Reigns. That's the match we want. My way or the highway. And finally, I've been in love with the AEW Impact Wrestling stuff. Still very in its early days, but it's got that real vibe of an invasion about it. And we've got an update for you on that partnership and where it may lead. Isn't that right, Adam Pacitti?
Correct, once again, from the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Thanks very much, Dave. We've got an update on the plans for the working relationship, as well as how long this has been in the works. And incredibly, this has been in the works for a year at this point. So, Callis pushed himself as the architect of two things that changed wrestling history, putting together the Omega Jericho match at the Tokyo Dome, which they noted Tony Khan has said in many ways spawned AEW and this angle. And he pushed himself as knowing Omega since Omega was 10 years old because his original manager on the Winnipeg Independence, the Golden Sheik, was Omega's uncle. Josh Matthews went in a luxury trailer, and Callis said that he didn't get back into the business to do a podcast or announce for New Japan Pro Wrestling, but this has been the plan for 27 years. From most accounts, he laid out his idea in December of 2019. Really, really interesting stuff. The actual idea was suggested by Callis when Omega and Adam Page started their team, and while Page was to come out as the heel at one point, that changed based on the early reaction to Page. So another interesting note there. Also, as far as the plans for Kenny Omega in Impact Wrestling go, and I don't think this is especially surprising, but the plan is to have him main event Impact Wrestling pay-per-views, which is a huge, huge get for Impact Wrestling. Like the number of eyes that's going to put on their product is absolutely insane. We saw it this week with the increased viewership for Impact on Tuesday night, also on Twitch. Astronomical numbers. He writes, they certainly tease the idea of Omega versus Impact champion Rich Swann coming with both belts at stake. We do know that Omega will make appearances on Impact Television, including back on the 15th of this month, and headline at least some Impact pay-per-view shows. So that also indicates that Omega will probably be holding that title for a little while as well if he's going to headline them.
I feel like the issue at the moment really is in the aesthetics of this. And this in any other time period, this would not be an issue. But we live in this hellscape version of 2020 as a result of COVID, where you've got Daily's Place, which is letting fans back in, and there certainly has a feel of a wrestling show there. And then you've got Impact, which is taping in closed off sets with no fans in attendance, and I get why they're doing it, and the Impact Wrestling television has been incredible lately, but that pronounced echo around the room would be strange with someone like Kenny Omega there. I think that the money here is not so much in having. I think Kenny will turn up on Impact. I think that's great for them, but have also Rich Swann go to AEW, have Swann walk out at Dynamite with that Impact Championship over his shoulder. Like, that would be an incredible visual to do it both ways. I think a Rich Swann, Kenny Omega title, champion versus champion match should definitely be on somebody's Christmas list.
That's huge. Imagine, like, how big does that make Rich Swann feel? To be in the same on the same level as Kenny Omega, it's just huge. And essentially, I think personally, pure speculation once again, but with everything that's been teased and reported so far, this feels like it's going to build to a proper AEW versus Impact pay-per-view with a proper blow-off, which is something like that's dream matches ahoy. We won't go through them because we've done it 50 times now, but yes, bloody please.
Shoot that into my veins.
Tom, you're going live in like 2 minutes. By
the time this goes out, you have missed Love You by Friday, so sod you. But certainly, if we don't get Swann and Omega, we should hopefully be getting Raymond Reigns versus Manu. So there's plenty to still smile about.
It's off. Go and do your show, you bellend.
Have a great weekend. Love you. Bye.